So we are back, and it is now part 3 of this tutorial, and this is what your work should be looking like so far. So we're getting up here in our rows, and we just finished up this row and laid our foundation work to switch back to the granny. So we're going to go ahead and work on that now. And for me, I'm going to be binding off and changing colors. If you are not binding off, then you will just be able to continue on up. Make sure that you've got your center point of your shawl. You want to mark right here in the top of this double crochet with a stitch marker so you don't work past that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a quick little bind off real fast. So I'm going to be chaining up 2, and then I'm going to clip my yarn and switch back over to the Soft and Sleek DK. So we'll work with that now. So if you're going to be changing your yarn as well, you're going to bind off. Then you're going to go back into the top of that triple crochet right there on the top of it. And you will be adding on your new yarn, which, if you're following me exactly, it'll be the Soft and Sleek DK. And I'm going to go ahead and just tighten up that slip knot real quick. And then I'm going to pull up that loop. Get untangled. So I've got my loop pulled up. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to be chaining 3 to start this row. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. Just like that. And now we can go ahead and turn our work. Now, just like we've done in all the other granny rows, we're going to need to go ahead and complete 2 more double crochets right here into that same exact first stitch in the row. So we want to do 2 more double crochets because that chain 3 is counting as our first double crochet. So just like that. Now we're going to be working on into the chain spaces that we created. So we're going to start right here in this very first. This is a chain 3 space, and we're going to do 3 double crochets. Not chaining anything, just jumping directly over and doing those 3 double crochets. Just like so. And now we're going to jump over here into this chain 5 space, and we're going to work the same way all the way up to the center point of the shawl. We're going to work in the chain 5 spaces doing the 3 double crochets just like we did on the previous rows where we were adding in our double crochet section, the granny section. So I've got 3 double crochets right there. Jumping over into the next chain 5 space and working 3 double crochets. 1. Here's 2. Whoops. And here is 3. So you can go ahead and pause here and continue to work in the same exact manner, jumping into those chain 5 spaces and working your 3 double crochets all together so that we can form our granny stitch section again, and then we will meet back up at the center and do that center point together. Alright, so we're back up here at the center. I have just worked the 3 double crochets right here into this chain 5 space leading up here to the center. I've got it marked. So I'm going to go ahead and take out my stitch marker now. And we're going to go ahead and work 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all into the same top of this double crochet here at the center. So we're working all of this into the same exact stitch. So we're going right in there and we're doing 3 double crochets, chain 2, 1 and 2, and then going back down into that same exact stitch and doing 3 more double crochets. Here's 2 and here's 3. And now the rest of the row is exactly as we have been doing. And you're going to go ahead and start working 3 double crochets on your way down the shawl until you meet me back up at the end. And just as a little note, I know some people are really curious, they like the stitch count. If you are counting this side, one side of the shawl, when you get up here on this row to this peak and do this granny stitch, you're going to have a total of 25 of these granny stitches. So you have 25 on this side, 25 on the other. So a total of 50 granny stitches if you're just curious about those counts. I know I haven't been giving those throughout the video, but I'll probably do that on the part 1 description just to kind of help out. If I can't fit it all there, I'll see what I can do on the other videos just to kind of help you guys. If I am just too wordy on that description, I can't fit it all in. And hopefully I'm being detailed enough in the tutorial that you won't have any issue. And we're going to go ahead and pause here, and we'll meet back up when you get down to the other end, and we'll finish off the row together. Alright, so we're here at the end of the row, and I have just worked 3 double crochets right there into that chain space that's right here at the end of the row, in between the two, what's counting as anyway, the 2 triple crochets. So this right here is our chain that we began with, that chain 7. So we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to go into that 4th stitch. We're going to work directly into that chain, and we're going to do our last 3 double crochets for this row. So you're going to go ahead and work right in there, doing those last 3 double crochets. And then we're going to be able to chain up 3 and begin our next row. You're going to do a total of 5 rows of the granny. So we just worked 1. So now we're going to move on to the second row of the granny stitch, and we're going to chain up 3 and turn our work. And then we're going to go ahead and go back down into the same exact stitch. So we're going here into this very first one, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets. So we have a total of 3 right there at the beginning of the row, because that chain 3 is counting as a double crochet. And now we're going to go over here, and we're going to move these stitches apart, and we're going to start doing our 3 double crochets again in between the previous ones, from the previous row. So we're going to work in sets of 3, placing them in between these 3 double crochet sets on the previous row. So just exactly as have been working, you're going to be doing the same exact thing. When you get up there to that center point, you're going to work your set of 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all there into that chain 2 space at the center of the row. So it's exactly what you've been doing. And then we're going to be moving on to the lace portion, and we're going to go ahead and meet back up at the center here just to work that center together, and then you'll be able to finish out the row and finish up the other 3 rows that you'll need to complete after you've completed this one, so that you have a total of 5 more rows of the granny stitch. So I'll meet back up with you in just a moment to do that center point again, just as a reminder of how we do it, and then we will move on to the lace portion next. Alright, so we're meeting back up. We're here at the center, and you're going to have your stitch marker there to mark that center so you don't zoom past it. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to go right in there into that chain 2 space, and we're going to work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, and then work right back into that same chain 2 space and do your 3 double crochets on this side. And then you want to make sure you pop that stitch marker back in so that you do not lose track of that center. It's easier to do that than what you would think. And you're just going to continue on down in the same exact way, doing the 3 double crochets in between the 3 double crochet sets from the previous row. So we're just going to keep on working in the same way all the way down, and we'll meet back up real quickly at the end of this row just to finish it off. And then you'll be working your rows 3, 4, and 5 off on your own, and then we will come back and do the lace. Alright, so we are at the end of the row here. We're going to go ahead and work 3 double crochets right here into this very last stitch. This is actually a chain that we began this row with, so we're going to count up from the bottom, 1, 2, and 3, and go into the top of that 3rd stitch, and we're going to work 3 double crochets all into that 3rd stitch right there. And then from here you're going to be able to chain up 3 and continue to work in the exact same manner as you have been, completing 3 more rows for a total of 5 rows of the granny stitch, and then we will be transitioning back over to our lace work, and we'll do that all together. So go ahead and pause the video here and continue to work, and when you've completed your 5 rows, you'll come back and meet up with me so that we can do the lace. Hello everybody, we are back now, meeting up after finishing our 5 rows of the granny stitch, and we are basically at our halfway point on this shawl. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to transition back to the floral lace section, and we're going to be working it like we have worked this one right here. So we're going to end up with these 2 center points, the floral going out in the 2 directions instead of the 1 center point. So for this row, we're going to be doing something exactly like what we did down here. I'm going to go over it real briefly with you. We have this row right here to work, then another granny, and then we'll be finishing up with the last row of this floral lace with the center point that is like this. This will be our border, basically. Will look exactly like this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully by this point, you guys have kind of gotten in a rhythm of what we're doing, and we won't need to go into too much detail, but I'm going to be joining on a new color yarn for myself, and of course if you are not changing colors, you're just going to continue on, and we're going to go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to be doing a chain up very quickly. We're going to chain up 3, and then we're going to be doing 1 chain for our chain space. So let's just start with our chain 3. And there's 1, 2, and 3. That's counting as our double crochet. And now we're going to chain 1. This is our chain space. And then all of these rows, when you do them, you're going to be working here right back into the same stitch, just like we have been, doing another double crochet. And then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to be working in that same exact manner all the way down until we get to the center point. And then at the center point, just like we've done on our previous rows, we're going to be working 2 chain or 2 double crochet chain 1s in the center point, and then a center, the very center is going to be the chain 2. We're going to work that together just like we've been doing, but you're going to continue on down this row, laying your foundation for your floral lace. So you're going to do a double crochet chain 1 into each and every stitch. So we only do the 2 into the very first stitch. So keep working just as you have been, doing your chain double crochet into each and every single stitch, and we'll meet back up at the center point. All right, and we're back. We're here at the center point, the peak of our shawl, and right here I've worked a double crochet in this last stitch before I hit the chain 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and I'm going to move my little stitch marker out of the way real quick. All right, so I've got a chain 1 on my hook, and now we're going to go down here into the chain 2 space, just like we've done previously, and we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we are going to all work in that chain 2 space. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go back down here into that same exact chain space and work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now we're going to need to do a chain 1. Make sure we scoot our stitches over so we don't miss this very first stitch. And now we're going to do our double crochet in there because we've already got our chain 1 on the hook. And now we're just going to chain 1, double crochet all the way down, and then we'll meet back up at the end of this row so that we can put those last 2 stitches into the very last stitch in this row together. So we're going to end the row together. So you can go ahead and pause here and work on down your row, and we will end out together. All right, so we're here at the end of our row. I've done my double crochet right here into this stitch, and now I've got this chain to work into. So I'm going to chain 1 because we always have to do that, and then I'm going to count up from the bottom 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to go into the top of that 3rd stitch. I'm going to do a double crochet, and now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back into that stitch again. Move my fingers out of the way so y'all can see. And do another double crochet, and that ends out that row. So now we're going to go ahead and chain up 5 to begin laying our foundation for our lace work. I've got 4, 5, and we're going to turn our work. So we've turned our work. Now we're going to be skipping this very first chain space right here. We're going to skip that one and go immediately into the second one and do our single crochet right there. Now we're going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just like we've been doing, we're going to be skipping 1, 2 chain spaces going into the third. And you're going to continue on down. We'll meet back up at the center. So you're doing the same exact thing, chaining 5, skipping 1, 2 chain spaces and working into the third, just like you have been. So go ahead and pause here and we'll meet back up at the center and work that together. All right, so we are up here at our center, and you will know you're at your center because you've got this little handy dandy stitch marker in there, which I'm going to go ahead and move. So let's take a look. I've just worked my chain 5, skipped 2 spaces, and I ended up in this space right here, right before the peak of the shawl, my chain 2. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to chain 5, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to go directly into that chain 2 space, and I'm going to anchor down with a single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 5 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to come right here to this very first chain space, and that is where I'm going to be working my single crochet so that I mirror what we did on the other side. Now from here, you're just going to work exactly as you have been, doing your chain 5, skipping 2 spaces, and anchoring into the third. We'll meet back up at the end of this row to finish it off. All right. We are meeting up here at the end of this row. We're going to chain 2 this time, and we're going to come over here. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook because we're going to do a double crochet, and we're right here at the starting chain, or the chain that began this row. So we want to count up from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and go into that third stitch and do our double crochet, and that ends out our row. All right, so now to start this next row, what we're going to do is chain up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we're going to turn our work. And now we're going to go over here into this next chain 5 space. I'm going to go right there into that center chain. So we're going to work right there in that third chain, just like we have been, and do our single crochet. And now from here, we're going to go ahead and start working our floral lace again. We're going to go into this very next chain 5, and we're going to start doing our 8 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, here's number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. And now we're going to go over here into the next chain 5 space, and we're going to anchor down in the center chain just like we have been. So go to that third chain and do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain up 4, so it's the same thing you've been doing. Chain 4, and then you're going to turn your work. So now we're going to start doing our clusters again. You should be super familiar with those. So you wrap your yarn around your hook, insert and pull up a loop, pull through 2, and you hold it. Wrap your yarn again, insert into the very next double crochet, grab a loop and pull it up, grab a loop and pull through 2, and you're going to hold it with the 3 loops on your hook. And now you go ahead and grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to complete the same thing again in the next 2 double crochets. So you're going to do that same exact cluster stitch. There's 1. Now we're going to go on this next, do the second one, 3 loops on our hook. So we'll go ahead and pull through all 3 loops. Now we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to go over here into the next 2 double crochets. We're going to start here in the first and do our cluster. We're going to go right here and work into the second. So it's the same exact thing that we've been doing on all of our other lace rows. We're just going to complete that on this row. Chain 3 in between. You're going to do a total of that, do that a total of 4 times. So we're on our last one. We're going to work in these last 2 double crochets. So we're going to go ahead and work those. Now we're going to pull through all 3 loops. Now you're going to be chaining 2. You're going to come over here into this chain 5 space, and you're going to anchor into the third stitch, just like so, with a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work again. So now we're bringing it back around this way. And now we're going to do our two single crochets around this chain 2 space. So I'm doing my first single crochet, my second single crochet, and now we jump right over here and start working into the chain 3s with a single crochet, a half double crochet. We're going to do 2 double crochets, all working into that same chain 3 loop. Here's 1, here's 2. Now we're going to go back and do our half double crochet again, and a single crochet. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times over these next 2 chain 3 spaces. Single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets. There's 1 and 2. Now we're going to do a half double crochet again and a single crochet. Jump over here into this last loop. We're here in that chain 3, I should say, not a loop, but chain 3 space, single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, a half double crochet, and a single crochet right there. So now we're over here to our chain 4 that we began with. So we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet right there around that chain 4, and then we're going to do another single crochet into that 3rd stitch. So count up from the bottom, go into that 3rd stitch and do a single crochet. Now we chain 1 and we come down here into this very next chain 5 space and into that center chain, the 3rd one, we do a single crochet. Now we chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we jump over here to the next chain 5, making sure we go into that center stitch into the 3rd one, do a single crochet, and now we're back at our repeat. You're going to continue this on down the row. I'm doing my 8 double crochets into the next chain 5 space that we have here. We're going to do 8 and continue to work in the same exact manner all the way down. We're going to meet back up at the center and we'll work that center stitch together. So you can go ahead and pause here and we'll meet back up when you get to the center of your shawl. All right, so we're meeting back up. We're here at the center. I've just worked this floral lace. I've anchored here. I've got a chain 3 on my hook. I'm about to anchor right here in this very next loop, going into the center chain. On all these, you just anchor into the center chain, even on your chain 3s. So now what I'm going to do is it's ready to begin that repeat. I'm going to do the 8 double crochets into this loop right here. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to go back and double check those just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so now what we're going to be doing a little bit different than before is we're going to anchor here in that center stitch, because we're going to need this other chain 3 loop here in a moment to work our other side. So we're going to go ahead and chain up 4 just like we have been, turn our work, and we're going to start doing our clustering. So we're going to go ahead just as we've been working. We're going to do that real quick on this side. 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to do the next set. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to work in the next 2 stitches. One, 2, 3. And we're going to go down here into the next 2 stitches. Oop. Yep. 3 on the hook, pull through all 3. It's the same thing we've been doing. Do your chain 2, go down here and anchor into that center stitch. It's a chain 3 this time. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1 after we've anchored down, and we're going to turn our work. And now we're just back to doing what we've been doing. We're going to do our 2 single crochets around that chain 2 that we just created. We're going to jump over here into our chain 3 space with a single crochet. We're going to do our half double crochet in that same space. 2 double crochets right there in that same space, right beside each other. We're going to do our half double crochet again, and our single crochet all right there in that same space. Now we're going to come over here to the next chain space, and we're going to do our single crochet. We're going to do our half double crochet, our 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. We're going to do our half double crochet again, and we're going to do a single crochet. Going to do a single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, our half double crochet, and our single crochet. Now we're here at our chain 4 space. We're going to go ahead and do our single crochet right around the chain 4, and then we're going to go into that 3rd chain up and do our single crochet just like we've been doing. And now we're going to go ahead and jump over here and start working this next side. We're going to do our 8 double crochets. So we're right here in the center, just to lay this out where you can see a little bit better. So right here in the center, now we're going to have our 2 floral fans pointing out. So we're going to go ahead and start working our double crochets right there in that space. So we're going right down here into this chain, coming off center of our center, and we're going to do 8 double crochets. So I've got 3. Here's number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. And we're going to check our count real quick. So you got to make sure you're separating now this chain 4 right here. We don't want to count that. 2, 4, 6, 8. So now we can go ahead and anchor down normally like we would in the center chain there on the next chain 5 in this case. And you're going to see that's going to mimic what you've done over here. And we're going to go ahead and chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to turn our work. So now we're just going to begin doing our clustering just like normal. I'm going to go into this first double crochet and begin the cluster. Work into this very next double crochet. Clustering those 2 together. We're going to go ahead and pull through all 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go over here and work in these next 2 stitches. So we're going to go in those next 2 double crochets, doing our cluster. And we're going to go ahead and pull through all 3. We're going to chain 3 again in between. Now we're going to go and work in these next 2 stitches. We're going to go right into there and do that clustering. Now we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go right here in these next 2 stitches. We've got 2 left. We're going to finish that out in those stitches. Just like so. And we're going to chain 2. And we're going to come down and we're going to anchor here in that center. So a good way to find it is to stretch your work out. If you look, we're going right here in this first single crochet. We're just going right there. It's coming off of the other chain 2. Go right there and do our single crochet. Now we're going to chain up 1, turn our work. We're going to come back into our chain 2 space and we're going to do our 2 single crochets. And now before we move on too far, we want to go ahead and mark the center so that we don't miss it. So if you take a look at your work, I'm going to turn it back, and you just want to make sure that you're finding your center. And if you look, the center point of your shawl, you can see right there where we've been doing our anchoring. That's now our center. So you're going to mark that so that when you come back around doing the foundation that you're going to have to lay for your be able to switch back to your last row of the granny that we'll be doing, the last 5 rows of granny, you're going to need to know where that center is. So go ahead and mark that space before you get too far into it. So now we've got our 2 single crochets around that loop, or around that chain 2, I'm sorry. We're going to go over here into this chain 3 and start working just like we have been. There's my single crochet. We're going to come in here and do our half double crochet, our 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. We're going to do our half double crochet and our single crochet. Now we're going to jump over here into the next chain 3, doing the same thing, single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets, there's 1, and here's number 2, our half double crochet, and our single crochet. Now I've got to do that one more time, jumping over into this last chain 3. We're going to do our single crochet, our half double crochet. We're going to do 2 double crochets. There's 1. Here's number 2. We're going to come back down in here. We're going to do our half double crochet and our single crochet. Now we're over here on this chain 4 that we began with. We're going to go ahead and work around the chain 4 and do our first single crochet. Now we're going to make sure we're going into that 3rd chain, and we're going to do a single crochet. Now we're back working down the other side of our shawl. So we chain 1, we come over here into this next chain 5, and we go ahead and anchor in that center stitch with a single crochet. Now we do our chain 3, and we come over here into the next chain 5, and we anchor down into that center stitch. You're going into that 3rd chain right there. Now our repeat begins again. You're going to start doing your 8 double crochets, and you're going to come back through, and we're going to meet on up at the end of this row, and we'll just finish out that row together just so I can show you guys what to do exactly. And then we'll be moving on up to do our foundation row, to switch back to our last 5 rows of granny, and then we'll be doing our final lace row. So we are really getting to our home stretch now. So you're going to go ahead and pause the video here and meet back up with me at the end of your row. Alright, so you're meeting back up with me at the end of the row. We're going to go ahead and work these last 3 chain 5s together. We've just finished up over here doing one of our floral fans. We've come over and done our anchor stitch, chain 3, and anchored again in the next with a single crochet. So our next step is to begin that repeat again. We're going to go right here in the very next chain 5 and do our 8 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we're going to go back and check our count. 2, 4, 6, missed 1, 8. Recheck that. 2, 4, 6, 8. So now what we're going to do is we're going to anchor over here in this next chain 5 right there in the center stitch, just like we have been with our single crochet. And we're going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to have to turn our work. And we're going to go back through doing our clusters like normal, exactly as we have been. Working those 2 stitches at a time till we have 3 loops on our hook, pulling through all 3. 1, 2, 3. Chain 3 in between, work the next 2. 1 and 2. 3 stitches on our hook, or 3 loops on our hook, pull through all 3. Chain 3. Now we're going to go work these next 2 stitches, doing our cluster. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to work these next 2. And there we go. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to anchor in the center stitch of this chain 3 down here. So we're going to go right there in the center, so we can count 1, 2 in this case, and do our single crochet right there. Chain 1, turn our work. We're going to go ahead and do our 2 single crochets around that chain 2. Then we're going to immediately jump over here into our chain 3 spaces, doing a single crochet, our half double crochet, 2 double crochets. Here's 1 and here's 2. Now we're back to our half double crochet and our single crochet, all right there in that same chain 3. Now we jump over here to our next chain 3, just as we have been. Do our single crochet, half double crochet, 2 double crochets. There's 1. Here's 2. Now we're doing our half double again and our single. Jumping into this last space with our single crochet, half double, 2 double crochets. There's the first one. Here's the second. Now we're going to do our half double again and our single. Now we finally made it over here to our chain 4. We're going to go ahead and work right around that chain 4 and do our single. Go into that 3rd stitch in that row and do a single. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're over here at this chain 5 to anchor on down. So we are going to go into that center stitch just as we have been. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to anchor right there. Now that's how you end out that row. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be chaining up 7 like we've done on our previous rows. And we're going to go ahead and chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to start laying our foundation to do our setup row to go back into our granny stitches. We're going to do 5 more rows of the granny, so we're going to go ahead and do a triple crochet by wrapping twice around the hook. We're going to go right back down here in that same exact stitch that we have just worked in. Right there, same stitch, and we're going to go ahead and do our half double crochet. Now we begin our chain 5s, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just like we've done on all of our other rows where we're setting back up to go into our granny, we're going to jump over here into these little fans. We're going to work in between the 2 double crochets, doing a double crochet. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to go ahead and work in the fan again, doing our double crochet all the way down. And then we'll be meeting back up at the center row. So this is exactly as you have been doing the entire project when we're getting to this row, so that we can set up to go into our granny. There's my double crochet in between the 2 sets of the floral lace portions. We're going to be doing our half double. We'll do that one time together. Just chain 5, wrap twice around my hook. I'm going to go down here into the single crochet and insert and pull up a loop. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to continue. This begins our repeat again, going in between those 2 double crochets, doing a double crochet, just working directly into those stitches right in between them, chaining 5 in between, and we're going to keep working in the exact same manner until you reach the peak. And then at the peak we will come back and work that together. But we're going to be doing, just to kind of give you a heads up, we're going to be doing the triple crochet this time at the peak, because we'll have a center point. We're working in between those 2 stitches that we did, or I'm sorry, the 2 clusters, fans. Get my words right. We're going to be working in between these 2 floral sections. We're going to be working right here in between them, doing a triple crochet. So we'll be meeting back up at that center. You can go ahead and pause here and continue on down until you get to that center, and then we'll meet back up. Back here at the end of the row, we're going to be doing, we've got a chain 5 on our hook. We're going to be doing our triple crochet. We're going to anchor right here into the top of that double crochet, and we're just going to anchor and do our triple crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to go back down into that same stitch and do another triple crochet. So that's how you end out the row. So now from here, if you're changing colors, you're going to go ahead and bind off. And then you'll be able to switch back, and the granny row, next 5 rows is granny, and they are exactly as you have done previously. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys join on your yarn and work those granny stitches just as you have been. The rows begin and end exactly the same for the next 5 rows, and then we'll be meeting back up for me to get you started on doing your very last floral lace row. And that floral lace row is going to end just like we had discussed with the center point. So this next row that we'll be doing after the next 5 granny rows will be a center point. And so the position of where you're starting this lace row is what we're going to have to come back and do in this very last part of the tutorial. That's why I'll be starting that row with you. But from there, it is exactly as you have been doing all the way along. So we'll just get started together, and then you'll be able to go ahead and finish up. We'll also briefly discuss how you will go about adding additional rows if you choose to do that. So you've got 5 more granny rows, and then 1 more row of the floral lace, and that's going to be 5 rows, I believe. You're not going to have to do this setup row on the final row because it's going to be your ending, so it's going to be trimming out your shawl. So you are literally in the home stretch. So let's go ahead and you can join on, continue for the next 5 rows in granny, and we'll meet back up to put that last row of the lace on. All right, so we're meeting back up. You've finished your 5 rows of the granny, and I've went ahead, since it's exactly as we have been doing, and I've worked the double crochet chain 1 row to start back to our lace portion. I know you guys are really familiar with it. Just making sure that you put a double crochet chain 1 double crochet all here into the very first stitch in the row and end it in the same exact way. And I've went ahead and laid out my chain 5s. They're worked exactly as we've done before. On the first chain 5, we only skip 1 space, anchor into the very next, and then from there you're skipping the 2 chain 2 space or 2 chain spaces and anchoring into the 3rd with a single crochet all the way around. Your center of your shawl is worked just like you did on your previous rows. You're working into it, putting a chain 5, single crochet chain 5, coming out of it and anchoring into the very first space, and then you're back to your skipping your 2 chain spaces, anchoring into the 3rd. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I haven't moved up my stitch marker. I didn't really need to. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to end out the chain 5 row where we're laying our foundation for the floral lace, and I'm right here. I got my last stitch to work in, so we're going to go ahead and do that together just in case you need it. You're going to chain 2, and then you're going to be doing your double crochet and anchoring into the 3rd stitch from the bottom, since that is a chain. Make sure you guys can see 1, 2, 3. It's kind of stretched out for me, but you want to make sure that you anchor into the top of that 3rd chain with a double crochet. And then from here, this is the difference in this row. This is your final lace row. So you're going to chain up 3 to begin this row, and you haven't done that before. So you're going to turn your work, and you're going to immediately begin doing your double crochets for your 8 double crochet sections. So that chain 3 is counting as 1 double crochet. So I've just done a 2nd. And now we're going to go back in there. We're going to do our 3rd double crochet. Number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8, all into that very first chain space. So we worked the first time all right there in the very first chain space. We're going to anchor down in the center of the chain space directly beside us, so in that 3rd stitch in this case. And then we're going to go ahead and complete this row exactly how we have been. We're going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now your other side is going to begin This is how we're beginning. Your other side will end exactly the same way. So you'll just be able to rewind the video to this section if you do need help ending your shawl or ending this row. But we're going to go right here into this very first work, just like we have been doing our clusters, clustering 2 of those double crochets together. So doing absolutely nothing new here. At the very end, I'm going to show you what does change, and that's why we're having to do this together instead of me just having you guys rewind the video. So there is a method to my madness and why this is going on so many parts. I want to make sure that everything works out for you guys so you can end up making exactly the same shawl that I've made. So we're just going to cluster on together. Nothing different here yet, but I'll show you in just a moment. I'm working my last 2 double crochets, and remember this time we've got a chain 3. So we're going to make sure we go into the top of that chain 3 that's acting as our last double crochet for this little row. Gone into that. So now what we'd normally do here is we would chain 2, and we're going to do that this time. We're going to go ahead and turn our work. Only thing is we don't need to do our single crochets. We have nothing to work into. I'm just simply going to go into this first chain that I made. So I'm going to go right directly in that chain and do a single crochet. Sorry, I'm slipping. Alright, so we're going to go right here into that very first chain that we made and do our single crochet. So we're insert, pull up a loop, and pull through 2, and we're done. So now we're going to do just as we have, and we're going to jump over in that chain 3 space and start doing our single crochet, half double, 2 double crochets, our half double, and single. And you're going to repeat that over the next 2 sections just like you have been. Nothing new here. So this is all the same. You're going to be able to continue on down your row, and then we will meet up and do the center together. Center is very easy. You've done it on a previous row. We're doing where we end up with floral lace, 1 right there in the center, because this is our final row. You're on your final row, so you are almost there. And after we finish this up and I do that center section, I will talk to you guys about how you go about increasing further if you want to do any additional rows. So we're going to go ahead and work this on out, and you can pause the video here and meet back up with me when you're ready to do your center. I'm just going to go ahead and finish out this little section just as we have been. Chain 1, anchor over here into that center stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, jump over here, anchor into the center stitch, and start that all over again. So we'll meet back up at the center and do that together just in case you need it, and then you'll be able to finish out your row. And keep in mind your end of your row is going to be done exactly like this one. You're going to be working in that very last chain 5 space in the same exact manner. Alright, so we're up here at our center of our row. We are right here at the peak, and I have worked my chain 3 and anchored. And if you have worked all the way up to this point, you are at your center now. So we're going to go ahead, and the next step is to start doing our double crochets right here into this first chain 5 that's here in the center, but we're only going to do 4 on this side, and then we're going to hop over and do our last 4 in that other chain space. And that's how we work it out, so that we have the floral fan right here in the center. So you're just going to work over those 2. I've jumped over here to the next chain 5, and I'm working in that. So we've done that before. This is just to kind of refresh your memory. So you'll go about it exactly as you have been on every other floral lace kind of fan area. You're going to work it exactly the same way. We're going to come over here and anchor down the center of the stitch. It's a chain 5, and then you're going to chain up 4 and work out the rest of the center. So same thing you've been doing. I don't really think you need any more instruction. This is just kind of more to help you remember how to do this, because it's been quite a few rows ago. And you can go ahead and finish this on up from here. So I will briefly talk about how we go about increasing rows. If you want to do even more rows than what you've done, obviously you would be going an extra step on this row and doing the foundation to switch back to the granny. So same thing you've been doing, those chain 5s, triple crochets and double crochets, same exact thing. This work down here. But you would do another 5, add that foundation work, do another 5. You're not going to need it on this row. If this is your last row, when you're done, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have this pretty fan, this little floral lace. It looks like a little fan here on the end. It's going to be really pretty just as it is. You won't need to do that row. But if you are going to increase, you are going to add your foundation work so that you can add another 5 rows of granny. And then from there, it's going to be deciding where to start this fan. Once you lay the foundation work, doing your same double crochet chain 1 spaces in each stitch and laying the 5 chains anchored down with a single crochet, you're going to add that again if you're going, larger. But it'll be, where do you start the fan at? That's going to be the key thing for you. And the way that you're going to work that out for yourself, and bring this into view, is you're going to look at, your previous rows. We had to set them up slightly different. This one right here, we worked into the second chain 5 spaces where our 8 double crochets began. So here's a chain 5, and here's the chain 5 we started working in. We went to the second. Over here, you have skipped this first chain 5, second chain 5, and we're working in the third. And then here on this last row, we're working in the very first one. The reason being is you have to count out in 4s. You can choose to count however you like, but what I have done to work mine out is wherever I start my fan at. So if I'm trying to figure out where to start my fan, I count the fan as 1 loop, because you need 4 loops to complete the repeat of one of these floral lace sections. So you need 4 chain 5 foundation loops, 4 of those to complete 1 fan section. So I will count the loops when I have them here on the row. I will start counting from the corner and work out from there, how do I want to place my fan. So I'll say in my head, the fan is going to be this first loop. So I've got to count 4. So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the end of the repeat for the fan. Now I'm starting a new fan. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the end of the repeat. Now I'm starting my third fan. 1, 2, 3, 4. End of my little repeat that I need. 1. Here's another fan. 2, 3, 4. And when you do it that way, when you end up down here at your center peak, you want it to work out so that if you're going to do the fan here in the center on the next row, that 1 becomes your center when you start recounting, that you'll actually be able to finish out the full repeat before starting over. Or, same thing if you're doing this row where it has the 2. When I'm counting it out, I need 4. So I just make sure that when I'm counting it out, it's going to end where I need it to in the center place. If it's not, then that's why I have to adjust where the fan starts. So hopefully that is making sense to you guys. Sometimes you have to skip 1 chain 5 space and start your fan a little bit further in to your row in order for it to line up and end up in the center area in the position that we need it to. And I just start with your first chain space, count from there. Okay, 1, this will be where I put my first fan. 2, 3, 4. Okay, 2, or 1, this would be where I put my second fan. And count it out to the center and figure out where you need to start at. You're never going to have to go, as far as I know anyway, more than a few spaces in, like we've done previously, where we're starting just, a space or 2 in over the course of these chains. This is the furthest one. It started third one in, but it doesn't look bad. looks just fine, but the positioning, it's all about these number of stitches you got here, and you want to keep that in line. So hopefully that helps you if you do decide to increase. I would keep your granny rows even so that you have a real even look for your shawl, and hopefully this tutorial has helped you. You're going to be ending your row, as I said, exactly as we began the row. So you'll just be able to rewind on this video if you need help ending, but I'm pretty sure by now you got it. And you're just going to finish working out your center just as you have been, and you'll have a beautiful shawl when you are finished. Or of course you can join it together for a different project, completely up to you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and catch you next time in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.